So the Premier League is starting this Friday, so I might as well do my Premier League predictions for this season. In last place, I think it's quite obvious, it's Bournemouth. Oh shit, it's Bournemouth. They've got the worst squad in the Premier League by far. They haven't recruited very well. I look at their squad and I don't see many Premier League quality players in there at all. And I think they'll finish rock bottom, quite comfortably rock bottom as well. 19th, Fulham. I mean, again, I look at their team and it's just another, similar to Bournemouth, I just don't see how they can not get relegated when you compare them to other teams in the Premier League. I have to admit, their signings have been a lot better than Bournemouth. The likes of Leno is a good signing, to be fair. Very cheap as well, very good goalkeeper. But unfortunately that isn't enough. They have signed this Paulina from Lisbon again. Another bit of business that's great, but I don't think it's enough to keep them up, unfortunately. The last of the relegation teams, and it's got to be Leeds, unfortunately. I like Leeds. I think they're an alright team, but the problem is there is just not enough depth in that team. I look at that team and I think they're a few injuries away from capitulating, but also losing Phillips and Rafinha in the same window I think is going to affect them more than people think, and their replacements just aren't as good. 17th, Forest. Again, I just look at their squad. They've made a lot of good signings, but I think a bit too many in a way, where all their players are going to have to try adapt at the same time, which could affect them in the short term, but maybe it'll be a positive in the long term. I don't know, but I think I just look at their team and I think really, I don't think they can do very well, to be honest with you. In 16th, Southampton. Oh, there we go. Southampton again. They always seem to be down there in the relegation zone, and I think they will be down there again. I just look at their squad as well, and I just think they are really a Ward-Prowse injury from just being awful. They've made some good signings, to be fair. Who have they signed, actually? They've signed a few youngsters, Bazunu and goal, Kochap, or whatever his name is in at the back. But I just think with Southampton is that I just can't see where they get goals from. They've lost that Brozier because he was only on loan. I look at their striker, I just don't see goals in that team whatsoever. Except Ward-Prowse from set pieces, I don't see nothing, which is a big problem for Southampton. 15th, Brentford. Oh my god, why can't I? Okay. Brentford, I mean, I like their squad. I look at their squad and I think it's very solid. But again, a bit of a problem with some of these teams down here. The depth is not brilliant. And I think if they do get a few injuries, they could be in a bit of trouble. But I do like their squad. I think it's very balanced. I think their defence is pretty solid. Their attack and midfield are very solid as well. And they've got a decent manager. But losing Eriksen, I think, is a big loss. But I think they're looking at a few players to replace Eriksen, which of course you can't really replace Eriksen, especially a team like Brentford, but can definitely bring in a player that can do similar to what Eriksen did. And I think Brentford's team all round is just good enough to stay up in the Premier League. 14th, Everton. Now, this might be a bit high, but I look at their squad, I look at their signings, I think they should be good enough to stay up. The only thing is, I think yesterday it was reported that Calvert-Lewin's got another injury, and I think if Calvert-Lewin gets injured again for the whole season, I think they can potentially drop into the relegation fight. But I look at their squad, and I think if Calvert-Lewin can stay fit, I think there's enough goals in there, and I think a solid enough defence. And again, I could be wrong, but I think they should stay up. They should. If they do any lower than this, it's a bit of a problem. 13th, Wolves. I think it's a bit low for Wolves, but I look at this team. There's no goals. There's no goals whatsoever in that Wolves team whatsoever. I think they go into this new season with like no striker, or maybe one striker, and that's it. And I just can't see where the goals are coming from. I think they're going to be a team where it's hard to score against, but they can't attack. They can't score whatsoever. I just think that's gonna be a real struggle for Wolves is goals. 13. No, wait, what? Where are we? 12th. Fucking hell. 12th, Brighton. Again, no goals in Brighton. They never seem to score a lot of goals, but their defence is solid. I just think losing Basuma, and I think they're going to lose Cucurella, is a problem. but I have to admit, I think they've made a few good signings. I think, have they? Nah, yeah, they have. I think Graham Potter knows what he's doing. I think they will do, again, just mid-table like they normally do. Next, Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace are a very solid team, and I think actually will have a good season. But I think the problem for me with Palace is, again, depth. I don't think the depth is the best, but I think that the signings they've made is great. I think their attack, the likes of Zaha, Eze, Elise, Mateta, Edouard, I think that's a great attack. But I think the depth in midfield and defence, I just don't know if it's very good. But I think they'll have a good season. I think Patrick Vieira is a very, very good and strong manager. Next, Aston Villa. Again, solid team, very solid team, but injuries I think is a problem. I think Coutinho keeping him fit is key all season, which I don't know is possible. Same with that Leon Bailey, class player, but can't keep fit to save his life, which could really affect them in the long run. I think Villa have quite an easy start to the Premier League, which could be a very big bonus for them, but they always seem to struggle in areas in the season, and I think that will cost them big. And I think there's a few players in there who I think aren't good enough, but they do have a very good squad. Newcastle in 9th. For me, currently, I don't think they can finish any higher, but this is just an early prediction as there's still a month left of the transfer window. They're probably going to sign more players, but currently they've only really signed Pope, Botman and Target, which is good signings for Newcastle, but to get him into that next level I don't think is enough, but they definitely will spend more. I think they will definitely buy a winger, so that's why I'm trying to predict them as high as possible, but not too high, because they might not make any more signings. Again, their squad is very good. Pope, Botman, Byrne is a solid defence. Bruno Guimaraes, Joe Linton, solid midfield. St. Maximan, Callum Wilson, great attack. I think there's goals, plenty of goals in there. I think they will score goals. But again, I think key for them is to keep Wilson fit. If they can keep Callum Wilson fit, I think he can score 15 goals in the Premier League season. And now 8th, just missing out on Europe, Leicester. I think Leicester could even finish lower. I don't think Leicester can finish any higher than this. Leicester I don't know what's happened to Leicester, but their defence is just not good enough. They can score goals, but they can't keep a clean sheet to save their life. They've just lost Schmeichel, I think, to Nice. So they didn't really have a good goalkeeper. I mean, I say Ward is a decent goalkeeper. He's not bad, but he's probably not good enough, and he's definitely not better than Schmeichel. And I think there's also links with Tielemans to getting a linked away, Maddison, and I think even Vardy, but I don't believe that Vardy. But I don't think Vardy will leave. I don't see the point of him leaving now. But I think Tielemans probably will leave. Maddison could potentially leave, and there's just a few other players that could leave, and haven't made any signings. No signings whatsoever, which is a big problem. Really big problem. If you've made no signings, that can really affect the team and the fans as well. And I think they could even finish lower than 8th, and they probably will, to be fair. Probably been a bit generous, to be fair. Anyway, in the Conference League, it's West Ham. I think just the same as what they did last season. I think the signings they've made so far, Skamaka, if that's how you pronounce it, I think it's a solid signing. I think that's it. I think they're looking at a few other players as well. I think they've signed someone from Swansea, which I don't know how much game time they get. I think they're very close to signing this Onana from Lille, who I think is a very solid midfielder. Do they need him? Or is he just a squad player? I think he's probably more of a squad player to rotate through the team. But I think West Ham, I think one of the bigger problems last season was depth. I think they got a lot of injuries towards the end of the season. But I think if they can improve their depth, I think they can finish conference and maybe even push into Europa League qualification. If that's winning the Conference League, or if that's qualifying it from the Premier League. In 7th, we've got Man United. No, 6th. Sorry, we've got Manchester United. I look at United, I think they are not in a good place right now. Ronaldo wants to leave. All their signings, I think, are good. I think Eriksen's a good deal, especially on a free. Lisandro Martinez, an interesting deal. And same as Marcia, an interesting deal. I just think they've strengthened in positions they didn't really need to strengthen in. And I think there's positions they needed to strengthen in more, but they didn't do that. They're linked to De Jong. but I don't know if that will happen. You know, they've been linked for 3 months and nothing's happened. I don't think there's been any advancements since then. And I think their midfield's a real weakness, and I think that could cost them. I think their midfield and even their attack as well. Like Ronaldo, if Ronaldo stays, I think they can potentially push to try qualify for Champions League, but I just don't see it. I don't, even with Ronaldo, they need more players, and that's why I think they're going to finish 6th. 5th, Arsenal. I support Arsenal, and I would love them to go Champions League, but I'm just trying to be real here. I think I look at our squad as well compared to the teams that would finish above us or are better than us, and I think we can compete a bit better, but I think our depth, especially in a few of the positions, aren't as great as the teams above, and I just really think that we can't get Champions League. I just don't see it. I just don't see how we do it, or unless we sign a few more players, which is definitely possible. I think we can sign more players. It's just it might not happen, and I'm just trying to be real. And I think 5th is probably the best. Tottenham in 4th. Again, they've made some great signings. Not as good as people are making it out. I think 60 million Richarlison is a good deal, but not an amazing deal. I think Spence, Basuma, Perisic, Forster and Langley, I think that's all their signings so far. They probably will make some more. I think they're obviously want quantity over quality, if that makes sense. And I think they will do well. I think if they can get Son and Kane scoring, then they'll definitely get top 4. But if one of them gets an injury, as you know it could happen, that's when I think there's a chance for maybe United and Arsenal to get into top 4. 3rd, Chelsea. I've seen a lot of people write off Chelsea, and I think it's stupid. I think Chelsea are not gonna fall away. I think they'll make sure they get enough signings. There's still a month left of this window, and they're getting linked to a lot of players. I think they might have a bit of a shaky start, but I think by October, November, December, they'll be cooking in the league, and maybe not so. I think they'll still have some dodgy results, as I think goals can be a problem, and I think that's kind of a problem for quite a few teams. But their attack is not brilliant. Like, they don't really have a striker at the club. Like Havertz, as much as Chelsea fans will call him a striker, I don't see Havertz as a striker scoring 15-20 goals this season. And I think that's a problem with them, is goals. I think defensively they look solid, and again I think they'll be very hard to beat, but I think goals again is going to be a bit of a problem. 2nd, Liverpool. I mean, their team is just ridiculously good. The defence is solid, midfield very good, attack is amazing, but I think the one problem with me for Liverpool is I just don't think their depth's better than City, and that's basically how I'm judging it. And I think with Liverpool, I don't think I'm going to blame it on their squad's ageing, because it's not really ageing, but I think Van Dijk, Salah, they're pushing 30 now, or they are in their 30s, and I think it probably won't affect them this season, but I think in the next couple of seasons, which don't really matter towards this, I think they'll start to I don't really know, but I think one of the big things as well for Liverpool, I think losing Mane is actually going to cost them a bit, and I think they'll start to realise losing Mane is a big thing halfway down the season, when they start to, if one of their attackers gets an injury, or maybe another gets an injury, and they get 2 injuries, and it could be a problem. I think losing Mane is not great. And the winners, I think, I think most people predict them, is Man City. I mean, their depth is ridiculous. Now, I have to admit, they have lost a few players. Jesus, Sterling, Zinchenko are players, but again, they're all squad players. Like, even if they lose, unless they lose, De Bruyne or players like that, they lose players, they're just squad players. They get rotated in and out, and it's not like they don't have good cover for those players anyway. Like, they may have lost Jesus, but they brought in Haaland. So it's and they're going to win the league. Let's be honest. Let's be real here. They're going to win the league. Anyway, this is my Premier League predictions. Just my opinion as well, so don't come at me. I could be completely wrong, but I hope I've done as well as I can. Anyway, that's it. Goodbye.